Hi, folks. Welcome to She's All Talk Live, and I'm your host, Leslie Ann. I hope everybody had a happy Easter. I know we were busy in our house with all the kids, trying to think of ways to entertain them for the last 2 weeks, I suppose. The weather's been grand. We've been getting them out playing. It's lovely to see them all out playing and everybody out doing their gardens and doing the bit. It gives you such a boost. It's lovely. The news has been, look, again, all about the Ukraine, and it's just horrifying to think that it's still going on. It's still going on. How many weeks are we in it now? It's just so sad. As time goes on, it gets worse. Who's watching this whole Johnny Depp gate play out? It's just mind blowing. You can see it live on CNN, and I'm just absolutely astonished at all the stuff that's coming out about him and her. And I really genuinely, I know a lot of people are saying they feel sorry for him, and I kind of do too, but I think there was a pair of them in it now. I really do. I think they were probably just both as bad as one another. But again, I do feel sorry for Johnny Depp. Anyway, I'm going to get into my first guest, and I'll tell you how I came across not my first guest, tonight's guest. I'm going to tell you about how I came across this lady. I was watching news there about 2 weeks ago, and there was a story about a lady called Violetta. And she comes from the Ukraine. She's 82 years of age, if I'm not mistaken. She was reunited with her doggy. And I remember, God, tears coming down my face. It was just the most lovely story coming from the worst thing that could possibly happen in this world. And it was so lovely to see. And then I remember looking into it, and I seen the lady's name. And I said to myself, that lady's name rings a bell. And her name is Debbie Deegan. And I remember Debbie when I was doing Mums on the Mic with my host Hazel. Debbie was one of our many guests, and Debbie had the most amazing story about an orphanage in Russia, and how she set up her charity and what she saw basically, and the amazing work she did within Russia for these children. So I got back in touch with Debbie, and I asked her to come on the show, and she was absolutely mobbed, I'm sure, by the press from this video that went out on RTE, this news story that went out on RTE. So she agreed to come on, and I'm so delighted to have her on my show. Welcome to the show, Debbie, and thanks for coming on. You're so good.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Lovely to have you, Debbie. So I want you to start at the beginning, right? So a quick rundown on kind of, for people that wouldn't have heard Mums on the Mic, a quick rundown of what you did in Russia, what brought you to Russia, etc., etc.
Well, I've spent a quarter of my life, more actually, half my life nearly in Russia, in that I was working in orphanages since 1998. And a lot of people would know us in Ireland. Originally we were To Russia with Love, and then we changed to Children with Love because we took on an Irish project. So we changed the name of the charity, but we ran an amazing charity for 25 years from 1998 to 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the most effective charities I've ever seen working anywhere, I have to say.
And that was 1998 you started.
We started in 1998 when orphanages were at their, there was 950,000 orphans in Russia and 3,500 orphanages. They're very big figures, but it's a very big country. The place had just crashed at the time. The economy had just crashed. The country was in absolute shit. And I walked into an orphanage, and I went to visit a child I'd met in Ireland, and the rest really is history. I fell in love. Fell in love the day I was hit by I don't know what I was hit by, but I was hit by like a massive sense of opportunity for these children, sadness, overwhelming sense that I could make a difference. And I was a young mom. I had young kids at home, and my place was to be at home. I'd chosen to be an at-home mom, and I just kind of came home and thought, that's it. I can't leave those kids out.
I need to do something.
And then we went on to raise about maybe I don't know, something in the region of 8 or 9 million euro. And with unbelievable Irish people, just unbelievable Irish team around me for 25 years. We never had a HR problem in 25 years. We never had a glitch. We never had a problem. We just had the most amazing, amazing people involved. And we went on to change literally thousands of children's lives. And, and whether people like it or not, and it's not PC now, obviously, to say a single positive thing about Russia.
Yeah.
But for us, it was an amazing experience. They were incredibly warm and welcoming, hospitable, and the people themselves are amazing. They're so hospitable, and they welcomed us with open arms. At a time, in Ireland, we didn't allow anybody into our institutions and our orphanages. We hid all our children behind locked doors and, raped and abused them, as we all know.
Yes.
And so I was very grateful that the Russians gave us like full access to anywhere we wanted to go. So I had friends from the top to the very bottom, from the very top to the very bottom.
Yes.
And that made a difference, and it allowed us make the change that I really needed to make, because I like to see things being done, and I can't stand inefficiency and ineptitude, and I would be really intolerant of people who can't make decisions and dither over things, and so I would be like, we got so much done in 25 years. It's really only now that I'm coming out of it when I look back.
Yeah.
And when I see the pace other people work at in certain organizations, I look back at the work we did, and it like, without clapping myself on the back, I had a huge team of people around me. We were an extraordinary organization that did extraordinary things.
Yeah. So Debbie, because I remember when all this news broke, and something that stuck in my head when all this stuff was coming out about Vladimir Putin and everything. But I do remember you saying he was so accommodating to you and to what you were trying to organize, and and it almost seems like what we're seeing on the news, and how you described of how helpful he was, how helpful his people were. They're like two different people.
Well, there's no point in me trying to paint, like, I'm the type of person that says what I think, and I generally don't use bullshit as a tool. And I would be a very direct kind of person. So people here have poked and prodded me about, like, how bad was he? How awful was he? Like, was he the evil? Like, of course, we're all shocked. No, nobody's more shocked than me. Well, I'm sure there are, but I mean, as an Irish person that have invested so much time there, but he was a diplomat. I can't say it any other way. He was a diplomat. I met him. I had sat down beside him for 3 hours for dinner. Not many people did. I mean, our own ambassador, I think, met him for about 10 minutes. So 3 hours is a long time to sit with him and talk to him. And there was 8 of us at a table, and he was to my right. And we talked for 3 hours. And, there's no point in me lying about him. He was diplomatic. He was highly educated. He knew more about Irish poetry than I did. Which probably wouldn't be hard. I mean, I know, but like I would have school poetry and whatever we've all kind of picked up along the way. But he was a complete poetry buff, and so we had long conversations about stuff. I mean, obviously we spoke about children and orphanages and that kind of stuff. That was my job to do that, and when I was with him, it was my job to represent the children. So when you go into, I mean, I've always said from the very beginning, we didn't get involved in politics or religion. And in general, I try and stay away from both. And they're probably toxic in their own right, and a combination is even worse. But I mean, to say that you still have to work with government bodies. I mean, I was working under the Ministry of Education out there.
Okay.
So I was working under big bosses in suits and shirts and ties and huge desks. Like the desks that you see on CNN and Sky are real. There is people like 30 feet away from me at the end of that desk. And it's a kind of they do it like at times they do it. They're saying now they do it for COVID, but they really traditionally probably did it to intimidate people, to make you feel very small.
Yes.
So they kind of go in sort of shittering and shivering because the box at the table is so far away from you. But actually, I would never be put off by anything like that. Some stuff like that doesn't bother me at all. So it's important that in a charity or in any team that you've all sorts of different types of personalities, because I suppose I would be the fearless one, like in our organization, whereas I would have a very solid board around me that made sure I didn't do mad stuff or I didn't lose the plot, because
I probably need that too.
So you can't just be like a mad wild cannon with wild ideas when you're in a play. You have to, and also you have to be diplomatic always and respectful of their culture and their government and how they operate. And they are extremely different to us in a lot of ways. In some ways, they're like us. They drink, they sit around the kitchen table, they talk. They would be big kind of soul people. Some of my very close friends are Russians and were going to be. And some of my friends are pro what he's doing at the moment, and some of them are completely anti it. But I mean, I've had to stop talking nearly to some of my friends that would be pushing me on their side of the story as such, because I have said, look, I'm not going to keep arguing back and forth with you by text. This is ridiculous. And they are seeing one narrative. Their point is we're seeing one narrative. But I'm quite happy that the narrative that I'm seeing, because it's German, French, Dutch, American, I have to make decisions that I'm happy with that narrative, But I do know, of course, because I'm working there for 25 years, I've seen the last 10 years that they're all talking about in Donbass, and I've seen all of that. So I'd my eye on that ball more than, say, most people here would have, because I was working there.
Of course.
So sitting down at night in any shitty hotel we were staying in, the telly was on the wall, and so we were watching news as to what was happening when the rest of the world really knew nothing about it.
Hadn't a clue, and it only seems to be spilling out into the media now about Ukraine, where it's been going on a long time.
Yeah, it's gone on a very long time, but now suddenly everybody's very interested in it. So I mean, that was the Russians' point, that it was going on for so long and no one actually, nobody noticed. This is their point. It's not mine. It's their point, that it was going on for so long that nobody, and then all of a sudden everybody's all over it. The whole world is all over. So this is their point. I mean, I've just watched, I watched today's, the head of the UN talking to Lavrov, and then I watched him talking to Putin, and then I watched Sky News, pulling all the stuff apart and working out who was saying what. It'd have your head melted, It'd completely have your head melted. And then, and then I think Zelensky, literally, I mean, half the world would take a bullet for him and the other half would have his babies.
I know.
Oh, gosh, I know. He's a little dote and charismatic, and you feel he's genuine, sincere, cute and genuine. You feel he's so genuine. But again, I don't know. Like, all I can do is watch a press conference he holds for 2 hours and try and read everything, his body language, the way he's looking at people, the way he treats people. So I mean, we're all completely at the mercy of the press that's portraying
of what we're being fed. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, I would have a bit more background into it, Russia, because I worked, my feet were on the ground there for 25 years, and I was there 400 or 500 times. It was my second home, really, for a very long time. So I know
not very many people can say that,
No, very few people can say that, but they welcomed us, and they welcomed us with open arms. They were amazing with the Irish. They protected us for a very long time. We never had problems with money access. Our money was minded for 25 years. Like, I can stand over our money. That was one thing that I always made a promise to myself as running a charity, that no matter what happened, I would never be flippant about people's money, because like grannies would give us €10 out of their pension.
I know.
So it really infuriated me then when I saw the likes of the big guys here, with 800 grand missing, 900 grand missing. Like, it made me sick to my stomach that CEOs were in a position to do that, because we set ourselves up in the very beginning with a very stringent accountant, and he was a pain in the arse, but he really did make us do it the right way from the very beginning. It drove us nuts. Now, he didn't charge us. He was pro bono for 25 years, and really he made us listen to him. And I would have ducked and dived, can you pay somebody cash? No, you can't. You have to do everything in the book. And so he kept us on the straight and narrow for a very long time, and I could stand over and say that any money anybody ever gave us was spent exactly where people wanted it to go. Whereas it worries me at the moment. Like I now don't fundraise, and I'm now not in charge of a charity, so I'm a bit more open about stuff, and I can be, I suppose, but or I could be a bit more have an opinion. But it worries me even at the moment when I see the amount of fundraisers going on for the Ukraine, and I mean, not that I'd be putting people off, but don't give your money to anybody unless you know where it's going. You know, like GoFundMe pages, you can set one up in the morning and somebody can, you know,
it's so easy.
It's ridiculous. Like somebody can collect 10 grand and, you know, like it might not go to the project you wanted to go to. So you really and truly do have to really
be so careful,
because at the moment, like the charity governance people were trying to get away from all these small fundraisers everywhere and try and tidy it all up. And that's what they were working hard to do. And that's what we were all trying to do as charities. And now every dog in the street has a bucket in front of them and they're raising money, and like the rules are just gone out the window.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely. And you always worry. Like, I mean, I spent the last year on the maddest journey. Myself, my partner were fundraising to bring our little one to America for life-changing surgery. She had cerebral palsy. She couldn't walk, and now she can walk. We got this amazing surgeon in America, and we got it done. But that whole thing, like you said, a granny giving you a tenner, you know, on the street. For months I had this anxiety that I am holding other people's money. People are giving me the money for Sienna for her surgery, and I'm in charge of this, and I need to make sure it goes exactly where it's supposed to go. But there is that anxiety that, Jesus Christ, like, you know, it's so, I mean, I felt like I was going to have a nervous breakdown at one stage, because I would hate for anybody to think that I spent €20 on something I shouldn't have had. And that's the whole thing, like you said now about the Ukraine. Everybody's out collecting for the same thing. You don't know who's legit. You don't know what money is going to. Like, how many different areas and what type of areas are we giving money to in the Ukraine? You know, I just I feel like there should be one big thing, and I'm nearly sure there is a government thing that people can donate to, isn't there, instead of all these little GoFundMe pages and stuff.
Yeah, I think the Ireland for
Ukraine, that's right. That's right. Ireland for Ukraine.
The media are involved in it. I haven't really looked at it because I'm not fundraising now, so I'm trying to take a break from the fundraising world.
Yes.
But I'm just horrified a little bit at how suddenly, like, we spent the last 5 years with all the new governance legislation, you know, with all of our buckets had to be locked, have locks on them, with all of our 2 people had to count all the money. Like, I can't even begin to tell you the amount of rules that we really are. My board insisted we did every single thing the charity regulator.
I mean, and that's all out the window now.
Talk about old news. I mean, it's just, I don't know where the charity regulator are going to come back from this, because there's literally in every corner with kids' drawings on them and a blue and yellow flag. And I'm not knocking it. I mean, of course, it's a great cause. But we had tried our best to get away from that kind of fundraising, because, like, nobody knows when you just have to just be so careful that when you're giving money to somebody, I mean, you know them, know the person. Anybody to you, trusted you because they knew your little girl, they knew you needed the money. But if you don't know the person, you don't know that they're not going into Brown Thomas to buy themselves a shirt.
Oh God, I know. I mean,
that's the world we were all in. I mean, I was one of the very few things I was glad ended for me when the charity ended was the fact that the relief of fundraising was off my back, because like that, you just think, if you're sitting having a big ice cream somewhere, is somebody passing you by thinking, where did she get the money for the ice cream? You know, so you're carrying that the whole time. But I would just say, be very careful. Don't give your money unless you know where it's going. Just don't give it to somebody unless you know where it's going. Or find a Ukrainian mum. Like, I live in Clontarf. There's Ukrainian mums staying in a big house up in Clontarf. There's a whole load of them there. Go up someday and say hi and say, look, I want to help somebody. Or is there a young mum here that has a baby? Maybe get to meet her, bring her a present of maybe baby stuff, and give her an envelope with 100 quid in it.
Absolutely, we work more to her that way.
With a baby, at least you know she's a young mum with a baby. But just put.
It'd be nice to know where they kind of are, wouldn't it? Like, I suppose every community probably,
community has them.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
And everybody should know where they are, because. Like I was at a meeting last night. I'm trying not to get involved, but because I'm only out the other end of 25 years of research.
Not to. That's in your nature, Debbie.
Well, it's in my nature, but I was at a meeting last night and we were just saying that like they've all been, any of the ones that are kind of mashed into hotels or mashed into army barracks or City West, like if they're here 6 or 7 weeks, they haven't seen the inside of an Irish home. A lot of them, the ones that came to host families have. But so, you could invite a family over for a Sunday dinner.
That's true, yeah.
Let the kids play in the back garden. You can use Google Translate to you don't need a big heavy conversation with them. You can show them your house, show them your flowers. The women absolutely adore flowers. Go down to Dollymount Beach. It's the simplest thing. Buy a 99. Go to Dollymount Beach. They adore the beach. They've no beach where they're from. Let the kids pick up seashells. Bring them back for scones and coffee. Use Google Translate for, small talk. And just, you don't have to take them into your home for 2 years or a year. You could do something.
That's a lovely idea.
But they're in everybody's area and they're, don't be afraid of them. They haven't got a disease. They're traumatized people that are looking for someone to put their arms around them, know?
And especially the children as well. You know for years and years where your heart is, but the children as well, like you do feel so sorry for them having to leave their country. And I suppose go into schools, like in our local school, there's a couple of children now in the classes, and my children are even telling me about them and, how lovely they are and how well they're adapting to a new language, new culture, and even just that. I mean, my heart breaks.
Just be very sure to invite them home,
Yeah.
Just be very sure to invite them home and, have a hot dog. They like sausages.
Yeah. Come here, Debbie. Another thing I wanted to ask you, right? So you said you started in 1998 up until 5 weeks ago. How did this all kind of plateau and come to an end? Is it because of basically the war, or was it something that you kind of know?
No. You don't close down that quickly. We made a decision at our board meeting in, I think, last September.
Okay.
That this was our 25th year, and we felt we had done as much as we could do. Okay. And we felt that the main thrust of our work was over. Now, to be honest with you, we have so many relationships in Russia that I will be working there probably till the end of my life with people, because we grew a huge family there, and so we have little ones there that were just became totally dependent on us Irish. We were there when they gave birth, we were there when they broke up with boyfriends, we were there when they left the orphanage, and we're not going to suddenly turn our backs on them because we closed the doors. So like I was on the phone today to one of them for an hour. We are in Bryansk, which is the area that was on the news yesterday, where there was fires, etc., because it's very close to the border of Ukraine. So we are very close to the border. But so no, I've no doubt. I mean, one of my eldest ones was on tonight to tell me her own daughter broke her arm today. She was going in for a pin in her arm. But I know this girl for 28 years, her mom. So like we're part of their family. And they will always expect us to be there, and we're not going to suddenly say, sorry, we don't like you because you're Russian. Won't be happening. So yeah, I mean, I did write to Vladimir Putin 4 weeks ago and told him. I did. I would have access to
of course.
I will. I mean, I really did feel that if he thought enough of me to give me like the highest medal in the country, well, then he's going to have to listen to what I want to put down on paper. Now, I'm sure he might have been washing his hair the day my letter arrived. I can't imagine it was on the top of a priority list. But at the same time, I just felt I had to do it. I felt I had to say the words to him, and I didn't want to say them to anybody. Didn't want to say them to an interim person. I wanted to say them directly to him. And so, I did write a letter to him.
Good on you, Debbie.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, how did this all come about with the doggy and this lady being reunited with her doggy?
Well, I'm as I keep telling myself every day, I'm not involved in the Ukrainian story, but clearly I am. And so a very good Russian friend of mine actually from our orphanage. It's a very long story, but a very good Russian friend of mine contacted me to say that she had a family stuck in Romania that couldn't get over the Romanian border. And could I help in some way? And I was at home. I had literally, we closed our shops. I'd wound down. The war was beginning, and I was thinking, oh my God, I cannot believe the timing of this. We literally closed the week the war started.
Okay.
And I mean, it was bizarre. It looked like we knew, but of course we didn't know.
Yeah.
So I got this phone call very early in the morning. So I thought, well, how can I help? And I don't know what I'm going, but I do have a network. I would have a network because I've been working in the Eastern Bloc for a very long time. And although I'm not a spy, which often people say, God, how many people do you know over there? But, but I do have connections, obviously, because I'm there so long.
So that was a long time, Debbie. You know what I mean?
Like a lifetime, yeah. And so I put wheels in motion. Make a long story short, to put the wheels in motion. But this family, Granny is 86, actually, Violetta. And she's probably the oldest, I would say she's probably the oldest refugee in Ireland, I would guess.
Okay.
So she left her cottage in Odessa at the very beginning of the war. Now, there was no bombs at that stage in Odessa, but they had run out of medication. So her son, who's a doctor, made a decision that he would take them out, get her out. And so she left her cottage that her grandmother was killed in by Hitler's soldiers in the Second World War.
Wow.
And she spent her whole life living in that cottage. So she left with nothing, literally nothing, only her dog in a dog box, a small cat box, actually. And so she took Tasha, small little black lab. She took Tasha with her. They got a train through Ukraine through the night. They got on a bus. They got as far as Moldova. They were let out in a field in the snow in the middle of Moldova in the middle of the night. Her son was with her, who was a doctor who's 64, and his wife, 3 of them. And at that stage, Violetta was collapsing with exhaustion and stress. She didn't want to leave her home. They got her as far as a train station on the border of Romania. I wasn't aware at the time that people were paying bribes to get across the border, but they were. And we were all watching, like, people joyfully coming across, but we didn't.
It wasn't like that.
They were handing over money on the other side on some of the border points. And so they had to pay. They had to pay to get her across, and we got her into Romania. She got onto a train. She was collapsing at that point, and it was just a disaster. So they felt at that stage they couldn't manage her, and they'd one suitcase between them, and they had to carry Violetta. So they had to either put the dog down or give Tasha away. Violetta would maintain that Tasha is her best friend, that she's 14 years of age, the dog, and she'd maintained their best friends. So they gave the dog to a Romanian family. They went to Vienna. They flew to Vienna, and they couldn't get Tasha on the flight. That was one of the reasons they had to do it. And then they flew to Dublin, and I met them in Dublin. And all Granny could talk about was the fact that she'd given away. I'd never met them before. And she'd given away this dog. And she speaks Russian. Most Ukrainians do. And I speak bad Russian, so she was telling me about her dog, and it's all she could talk about. So I kind of made a mental note. I'm going to find that dog, and because for years we're doing stuff like that. We've had children separated for 25 years, so we've had to find the most random children. We've gone to prisons. We've gone to I couldn't even begin to tell you the places we've gone to. Old asylums. I couldn't begin to tell you where we've been over the years trying to find children. And we don't do adoption. We never did. But we look after the children that we work with, and so we did every single thing that we could to make their lives better. And so one of them was tracing all of their brothers and sisters. So I would be kind of like a natural tracer.
Wow.
We didn't do it we weren't being paid to do it. We did it for our own children's sake. In Russia. So for me to find the dog, it was probably easier for me than anybody else. So I had an address through her granddaughter in Romania as to who had the dog. We then employed a Romanian moving company, and they worried me. They worried me because I just didn't know. So I found somebody in Dublin who could translate the 6-page contract they made us sign. And so Tasha was in a small cage and had to be shipped across about 7 or 8 borders. And this van, I didn't know like who this van man was. Like in my head, I had visions of like Cruella de Vil's 2 evil assistants
with the dogs in the cages,
driving through Europe with like loads of stolen dogs. And I spoke to a few of the dog professionals here in Ireland, the big charities, and they were saying, "Oh my God, don't touch this! This is like who's driving that van? Where is he? You know."
Yeah,
so I rang the van man every morning, and I made him my best friend. And so every morning he sent me a video of her in her little cage, and he stopped the van, took a video. I was only short of asking him to hold up a newspaper to see that the date was right.
The date was right.
You know, and so I got her as far as the UK. I didn't know if I would get her into the UK because of the rabies problems.
Of course.
We flight her into the UK, and on the Eurostar as it happened. And so there was a lot
That's unbelievable.
There was a lot of machinations. So then I had to find somebody in the UK to mind her because we couldn't get out to the UK for a week. And so I put a call out on some strange Help Ukrainian Facebook page, and this absolutely amazing woman who lived in the most stunning farmhouse in outside Birmingham said, Lisa Kay is her name. She said, I'll come and get her. I'll mind her for the week. I live in a farmhouse. I've got dogs. So I Googled her in case she was a
dodge.
And so I got her whole history before I, signed up to it. And so she took Tasha and minded her like a baby for a week. And then an Irish girl, Saran Walsh, who's a dog handler, and John Darcy, mad lunatic friend of mine from Waterford, offered to go out. I couldn't travel because I had just written a children's book and I was doing a reading in Dublin with a load of kids, and I just couldn't not do it. So they went out and got Tasha and brought her back to Dublin, and then we all drove to Ballyvaughan and gave her to Violetta. Didn't know. So if you want to link up with this,
I did put it up. Yeah.
And then so Violetta then kind of hobbled out of her car down in Ballyvaughan, which is where she is on her stick, and she kind of comes walking up to the car. And she starts.
Oh my God!
It was so emotional, and she was like saying to Tasha, "Please forgive me,
I know.
Giving you away, and you're my medicine. I'm going to heal now," because Violetta had a mild stroke the previous week and ended up in Galway Hospital. And so that was another story. In the middle of all this, I didn't even know if Granny was going to survive. So now
that was some operation, Debbie.
It was an operation, but I loved things like that. If you want an impossible, mad operation to be carried out, just ring me and I'll do it for you.
Look, they say ask a busy woman to do something, she'll get it done.
Yeah, and it is true, actually. It is true. But I am used to doing stuff like that, so it wasn't that big a deal. People were going, oh my God. And yes, we were completely bombarded by the press. I mean, every single paper. The RTE News, Sky rang. Sky wouldn't put it on because RTE had just got it, and it's
they're devils for stuff like that, aren't they?
Like if they don't get it first, they're raging and they're annoyed, and then RTE was saying, "Don't put," Anyway, it was all of it. I didn't anticipate any of that. It was just what happened was I don't tweet, but Twitter scares me because there's Twitter's
a cesspit of toxic negativity.
And it may get worse now with the new owner.
Oh, your man, yeah. Especially Trump is coming back on.
Yeah, but it's free speech supposedly, but I don't tweet. Yeah. But anyway, Paul Dunphy is a friend of mine. He's a great tweeter, and he's a professional social media guru. So I just dog mad, and I tweeted Paul and said, "Paul, this is the cutest story ever. I've got this dog." Oh. Well, Paul retweeted it, and then before I knew it, Brode and Mishnock, the president's dogs, retweeted it, and then they were watching the whole journey. Then it literally went viral. People from Canada were texting. There was Canadian online radio people. There was it was on Germany, morning TV in Germany. So yeah, it was just one of those things that lit people up. I think it was the week that Bucha had happened. So there was so much tragedy and sadness and so much shock and horror that I think people just lean to this kind of a bright story that's a warm. Yeah. So Tasha is reunited with Violetta and they're happy out. And there's a gorgeous photographer going down next week. A professional guy rang me and said, he's a dog photographer. So he's going down to take Violetta with her dog as a gift for her.
Okay.
Yeah. So happy ending.
Oh my God, it's so lovely. And how is Violetta doing? Is she okay? Like, and
Well, it's impossible to. It's. I mean, they're. I mean, they don't know which end of them is up.
is up. Yeah,
They
that's
don't know which end of them is up. I mean,
yeah.
she's. You know, and Ballyvaughan is a beautiful place, but like, do you
It's
want
in
to be?
Clare, is it?
It's in County Clare. It's
County
magnificent.
Clare.
I mean, there's the ocean is there, a tiny village, but like her life, her
But it's
entire
not
86
home, yeah.
years have been in Odessa. So,
Mm.
like, if you ended up at 86 wandering around a tiny Russian village with nobody speaking your language, like it's like going to the moon to her. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
going to the
yeah.
moon.
Especially at
Uh,
her age, of course.
so, I mean, they're so grateful. They are so grateful for the hospitality, but like
Yeah.
they're still lost people.
Mm. Mm.
You know.
Definitely. Debbie, did you just say you are after writing a children's book?
I did a children's book actually last year, and I
Wow.
here beside me actually only because I'm
Give
in
me a
my
look.
site. So I did this one last year, which is The Tree by the Sea. I had the most gorgeous, absolutely beautiful animator. And
Right.
it's actually about a tree that is in St. Anne's Park. I don't know if you know the tree. If you know St. Anne's Park.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yes.
it's a
Yes,
big
I do
firm
know it.
tree down beside St. Anne's Park.
Yeah.
And I saw a guy carving it about 5 years ago, and he started carving all these animals into it. And the day I saw it, I kind of thought,
Beautiful, isn't it?
we need to capture the magic of that, because one day there was a tree trunk, and the next day you could see swans, owls, foxes,
Phenomenal.
So I didn't talk to him because I kind of thought, and normally I would stop and talk to somebody like that, but I kind of thought I don't want to break the spell, because he was just creating, for me, magic. So I had this idea in my head that if children go to the tree during the day and they whisper a wish into the tree, that at nighttime the animals come alive, come down off the tree, and at nighttime they grant your wish.
Oh,
So
wow.
magic. Yeah, it was incredibly successful. We sold about 4,500 copies without a publisher.
Wow.
And we tried a few publishers, and they all come back and said, no. Basically, no, it's a really brutal business. So I didn't really pursue it. And then we sold thousands of it with no publisher, which it amazed us all. So we raised about 40 grand before Christmas, all of 100% of which went to the charity. I didn't take anything for myself.
Okay.
And now I'm on my second one, Amber's Wish. So that will be out in September, and I'm loving doing it because what it does is you lose yourself in fantasy, and you can step out of the world at the moment, which is a very grim world.
And we all need to do that, don't we? Sometimes. Yeah, definitely.
It's a very grim world. And then I did a website around it as well. And then the website, as it happens, with all the animals that are on the tree, we did them in 23 languages on the website. So the website, which is The Tree by the Sea, we also have Ukrainian, which now we have Ukrainians download the website and going to the tree because they can read their own language.
Oh, wow, that's phenomenal. I'm going to put that link up on my page if that's okay with you.
The Tree by the Sea. I'd be delighted because it's a gorgeous, sweet story. Like, it's only for little ones. It is only for little ones.
Yeah.
But the website
I have plenty of little ones at my house, and I'm sure where we live, it's there's lots of little ones around here would love it too.
And like, take a half day and go down to the tree and make a wish. Like, it is a lovely thing to do,
And that book, I think, brings it alive also, doesn't it? The book would bring it alive. That's fantastic.
The kids can go on the website, and I've kind of given all the animals a personality, so the kids can they'll know the different characters, which it's just some rainy afternoon, you're doing nothing. Sit down with the kids and open the website, and you'll see it's very cute, and I had a brilliant illustrator.
Where can we buy the book?
It's online, www.thattreebythesea.ie.
Okay. And the next book will be
in September. I'm just signing a contract this week with my illustrator Brona Lee. She's really young and fabulous.
Wow.
And she's really fabulous. And so it'll be out in September for, I suppose, really for the Christmas market. I didn't even time it that way. It's suited me
the way it's fallen,
Yeah, it's just the way it's fallen. So no, I'm delighted with it. And it's a real therapy after what we've come out of in 25 years. It's a therapy for me.
Debbie, are you ever going to give yourself time to not do anything? You're probably like, I'm the same. I never stop.
Yeah, you're either a type or you're not. I mean, days...
You're a doer or you're not.
Yeah, and days that I don't have anything on my calendar, I'm kind of thinking, my God, Like at the moment, I'm trying to give myself some downtime. And so, like, I'm trying to take a break. There's no point in rushing out of Russia and diving into some other madly dramatic project. You really do need to debrief your brain from it all, because with such an emotional roller coaster for 25 years, I'd be doing myself a disservice if I was to launch into, like, something else. I mean, obviously I've had different offers in the Ukraine direction, and I am involved. I am involved with a few different families that I became involved with from the beginning, from the Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to do as much as I can for the people that I'm connected to.
Yeah.
And I will do as much as I can for them. But it's I'm just at the moment, I'm just enjoying the sunshine and, writing about, the bees and the swans and the,
It's lovely. It is lovely.
Yeah,
especially
really.
after all you've been doing for the last 25 years. And I suppose, like, no matter, even if somebody was to sit on you, I don't think you'd ever stop, would you?
Probably not. I probably find stuff, like I didn't have to say to myself, go and find, Violetta's dog.
Yeah.
Like, you're probably a type that takes things on and then you think, Jesus, did I really say I was going to find that dog?
I do it all the time.
But you're a type to, I'm not fazed by stuff like that. Some people get very fazed by stuff like that. And it's now that I'm coming out of the charity, I'm looking around at other organizations and I'm at different. I'm not being critical, but maybe I am. But when I see the pace that some people work at, it just scares me. It's so slow. At the pace that people do stuff, it mind boggles. I suppose because we ran our own organization, we ran it at a certain pace. We wanted everything done. It had to be done perfectly, transparently, fast, effectively. And when I see some of the things going on at the moment, I'm going, Jesus, why did that take 4 weeks for that?
I feel the same, even when it comes to a lot of things with our government and organizations within the government. And you almost see mapped out ahead what's going to happen.
Well, you're on the radio talking about modular housing. We're now 6 weeks in. Why are we talking about modular housing now? Why did they not start building them 6 weeks ago, when we actually knew there was 100,000 people coming down the ramp in the airport?
Yeah.
Like, stop talking about it. Just, go and meet the builders, get the job done. There's 4 billion there from the EU. Get the job done, because we're taking people down the ramps in the airport and we have nowhere to shove them at the other end. I mean, there's mattresses all over the floor in City West Hotel with stressed
army barracks. Yeah,
it's one thing staying in an army barracks when you're 16 and having a bit of crack, but when you're traumatized and you have a baby under your arm and maybe your mammy with you who's 70 and you're put on a cot in an army barracks, like, we need to give these people more than that. I know it's safe roof. It's better than being in Odessa, but at the same time, if we've got 4 billion coming in from the EU, get your finger out, lads, and get the modular housing up and give them all their own kitchen and their own bathroom. I mean, even staying with host families, it's one thing, I'm not quite sure about that myself. I've been putting people up for 25 years.
Russian. I remember you saying it, yeah.
And it's, the last girl I had with me was about 18 months with me for different reasons I won't go into, and she was older, she was in her 30s, but it's not an easy thing to do. It's just not, I'm not knocking it. People are fantastic to do it, and the Ukrainians need us to do it. But you're in your kitchen and somebody else is chopping up their chopped liver or their vegetables, and you've got to work around, you have to work all of that through. There's far more hot water than we would ever use, because in Ukraine they don't pay for their water. Their flats are like roasting all winter because the governor turns the heat on in October, turns it off in April, and they've no thermostats. So they think our houses are all freezing, and we're all going around in t-shirts on a day that it's like, a blue sky.
Yeah, exactly. It's 1 degree out. Yeah.
People have to sit down and work out, how you run your home and how it's different to them. Like, it's okay doing it for a week or two, but after a month or two, I think
it won't end well. Absolutely.
So I think those women are all entitled to a modular house. with a tiny kitchen, like a shomra, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, of course. I like a log cabin. I have one out my back garden.
If it's only a log cabin and they've got a small tiny kitchenette, 2 bunk beds and a single bed, I think it's better I personally think it's better than sharing. I do
too. I do too.
And I don't know why. I mean, they're just going to have to look at putting 100,000 of them somewhere because
everything is
shoving them into hotels.
Correct.
And then Joe Duffy freaked out today. I don't know if you heard, it was hilarious.
No.
He completely lost the head because some old lad rang in, some woman rang in, and she'd cancelled her membership to a hotel because she was a member of the swimming pool club. Okay. And she discovered that the hotel is full of Ukrainians, but they're not allowed to use the pool unless they pay a $5. And she felt this was really mean because they wouldn't have, most of them came with no money,
no money at all. For God's sake.
And then this other fella rings up and he says, "Well, I think that's right. I don't think they should be allowed to use the pool." And he pays to go to some pool every year. Why should they be getting it for nothing if he's paying? And there was murder on the joke.
I missed it.
Like, all of this is ahead because we haven't worked it out. We just haven't.
Look, we had to get used to COVID. We had to get used to all the changes and everything happened. I know it's a completely different thing, but I mean, people need to get used to what's going on and adapt their own lives around the likes of these type of things.
Well, it's all very well saying that, but you've got to adapt your children, your husband, your dogs, your cats. I mean.
No, I mean like the Irish people having to adapt themselves around.
We have to. It's not easy to change. Change is not easy.
No.
And it's great for a few weeks because you're enthused by it all.
And it's all in the media and it's all,
But then when people start getting under your skin, like no matter what, if you've got someone staying with you for 2 weeks holidays, but you're always glad to see the end of them after 2 weeks. You very rarely want them to stay longer.
Yeah. I think even when the husband is off work for a week, he starts to get under my skin.
Exactly.
He's hanging around the house.
Exactly. So I think people they deserve their own small space with a kitchen and a bathroom and a bunk beds and a small, tiny space that's safe and their own. But I think it's very hard for a woman to share a kitchen with a woman. And these are the. I'm not being selfish about it. I mean, I've done it for 25 years and with every age, from like 5 years of age to 75 years of age. So I've experience with them all, but it's not easy. People are great to do it, Do you know
what I was only thinking? Do you remember years ago, God, how many years ago, 20 odd years ago, when they opened up Mosney? I would hate to see that happening again because some of them people barely got out of there and they were living in absolute squalor.
Well, it's funny now that you say that because I was in Mosney before Christmas and I went up to help a family that had just arrived from Kabul on the first flight when the Taliban took over.
Okay.
And somebody asked me to go up and just do something that I was able to do.
Okay.
And so I went up and I cannot tell you how different it is to what I thought.
Really?
Because I'd heard people on the radio and they were giving out they couldn't work and they couldn't cook in their own. Let me tell you, they've got like every single cottage has a different color hall door. Everybody has their own exactly like it's like it was just fabulous.
It's
on little scooters. There's a huge big football rubber thing covered in football pitch going in. There's medical center. There's a library. It's run so well by an absolutely.
I am in shock.
I'm telling you, I came out of it. I was stunned. The the Kabul family actually invited me back for breakfast. And I felt awkward because I didn't want to go into the house because I was thinking, oh my God, what if these places are in bits? And because I had this picture in my head. Oh my God, they brought me into their cottage, which is down where the old outdoor pool used to be, down at Dan Lennon's there. If you remember back. Yeah. And the house was just gorgeous. She had it just perfect. She was an English teacher. He was a civil servant, and they had 4 children here with them. They were, again, extremely traumatized people.
Okay.
Very educated, extremely traumatized people. And but no, let me tell you, it was shining. No, maybe 5 years ago it was different. Maybe it was. Maybe they've
I can't
improved it.
believe that.
There's a guy running it up there at the moment. It is. I'm telling you now, it's shit hot.
Do you know what? It's actually great to hear that. It
I
actually
mean,
is great to hear that, you know,
and they're getting on
because
their feet.
everybody's perception was,
no,
wow.
I don't. I mean, I think a lot of direct provision is desperate.
Yeah.
And I mean, we see disgusting food on plates in places, and I think a lot of direct provision is disastrous, and it's not right. You know, it's not right. It's terrible what we're doing in our direct provision places. But Mosney now, Mosney
Wow.
is. I
And
mean,
what is after direct provision? Like, how long do they think that people can stay in these places? It's almost like they're left in limbo. What is next for these? How long are you supposed to stay in direct provision? What happens after that?
Yeah, I don't know that anybody knows. I mean, like all of these Ukrainians, I would say, came in, and as they were coming down the ramp, I would say every one of them thought, "What day am I going home?"
Yeah.
Now they're here. They're looking at their cities gone, bombed, ruined, ruination, husbands dead. So now I would say those women, an awful lot of women here will be going through huge trauma in houses because they'll be living with families and then discovering that their husband has been killed while they're living with a host family here, and they've no home to go home to. So suddenly, something they thought was for maybe a month looks like it could be forever.
Yeah.
So nobody really knows. I mean, the Ukrainian women are amazing. I mean, they can all cut hair, do nails. They're all bakers. I'm telling you now, they would they are amazing women. I'd say they will run more companies. They will be amazing women in Ireland. They'll set up small businesses. They're innovative. Yeah. Even at the moment on Facebook, you can see things popping up like cupcake companies, and like they're doing all of this. Some of them will be absolute dynamos, I'd say.
Yeah.
And some of them will want to go home. Some of them will definitely want to go home. But I think when they see the social welfare here and the benefits, they've no children's allowance in the Ukraine. So I think when they start seeing like a couple of £100 in their hand every week, and their children are doing well in school, and their city is bombed.
Yeah.
So people just don't know. I mean, I don't know that much about the area because I'm only looking at it really since I came out of Russia. You know, there's refugees and then there's asylum seekers, and they've all got different statuses. I don't really know. I don't know what the future for should they come in forever, or should they come in and be skilled to go home? Then if they have no home to go to, what happens?
Exactly.
So I don't know. I don't know if we know what the answer is,
Yeah, there's one thing I really feel sorry for, and I feel sorry for, you touched on it earlier, is the Russian people here that are obviously, like you said, against or pro or whatever. They're going to face that discrimination.
Yeah, I have a lot of Russian friends here. And
young kids in school as well, because there's young kids in our school.
Yeah, I'd hate to think that anybody. I mean, I know there was one little Russian boy who was in school, and his schoolmates were really horrible to him, and he was adopted, and it was just horrible. But all my Russian friends here have all offered me services to translate. So like all the Ukrainians I have been involved with, I've been using all my Russian translators every night on my phone. I'm sending them messages, translated back, and like all my Russians are doing that. So they're all helping where they can. 2 Russian girls opened a shop in Dunleary Shopping Centre last week. And because they were so ashamed of what their country government was doing in Ukraine, they've opened this shop in Dunleary Shopping Centre. Again, everything is free. It's really well run. They went to an awful lot of trouble to open it, and there are 2 Russian girls doing this for Ukrainian moms. So, like, Russian people are ordinary people. A lot of them are devastated over what's going on because they cannot believe what they're seeing. They're also fighting with family members in Russia who are telling them, "You're seeing it wrong. You're believing the propaganda in the West." They're saying to their families, "No, you're believing the propaganda," and so they're falling out with each other.
Yeah, but there's also an awful lot of Russian men, young men, being sent to fight this war that are losing their lives as well, and they're losing their family members.
Absolutely, and I know there is. I know there is. I mean,
know.
every single one of those tanks that you see, like, it makes me feel sick to my stomach when you see a satellite picture and either side, like, we're watching satellite pictures, say, of the Ukrainians, say, bombing a Russian tank, let's say, for example. And you see it like from a distance, from up high, and we're watching it on CNN, and you see the tank exploding. Like, in that tank is probably 4 young boys who have no idea why they're even there. Why they're even there. They've been told to go to war. They've been told that they're killing Nazis. They have no fucking idea what's going on. And they're in the, so every tank you see being blown up, it doesn't matter which side it's on.
It's not right.
3 or 4 young boys in there going up with it. You know, it's like, for me, it makes my blood boil. I just think in 2022, why are we not intelligent enough to sit around a table, no matter how problematic the situation is? Like, how stupid are we as a race that we have to use tanks and guns to solve our problems? How stupid are we as a race of people?
Did we not learn anything from all the past bullshit?
Unbelievable. That it's unbelievable.
Not right.
No,
it's not right. You know, Debbie, I think we'll have to leave it there because we could go on all night, couldn't we?
We're all experts. We're all war experts at this stage.
Well, you know what? And like, I mean, all we can go off is what not even what we see in the press, what we see in front of us every day, with people helping others, and you know, the lovely people out there like yourself and what you've did for the last 25 years. You know, all we can do is be better versions of ourselves and help as many people as we can, and the little bit of time on earth we have, you know. And
there is not enough kindness in the world.
Yeah, I mean, like you said the other day, actually, you did say that the other day. There is not enough kindness.
I did a TED talk, a TEDx, and I said at the end of it, they asked me a question. You know, what would you do? I think they asked you a question at the end. What's your most important message or something? And I said at the very end, like, if everybody that left the room here today, there was like 1,500 people in the room. If everybody did one kind deed today, it's 1,500 kindnesses that are going to happen in this town tonight. Yes. You know, like, if people just don't be afraid to take a step, don't be afraid of getting drawn in. If you want to go to find a house where your Ukrainians are staying, you know, go and don't be afraid of rejection. If it doesn't work, you know, go and buy yourself a coffee. If it does work, well, then you've done something lovely, and leave in girls' magazines, or leave in, you know, sanitary stuff, or lotions or shampoos. They're all,
you like, they like.
You know, do something kind, and you might get chatting to one of them, and use your Google Translate on your phone, and then
it's not hard.
You know, it's not hard. And if you want to go further, invite them to your house. If you don't, well, then you've done your kind deed.
Yes, absolutely.
Bite off what you can afford to bite off. You know, some of us bite off more than others. More than we can chew.
You're a testament to that, aren't you, Debbie? Debbie, do you know what? It was an absolute pleasure speaking to you again. I really enjoyed the last episode we had. I really enjoyed speaking to you, but even more so now, because I did think of you when all of this happened. I remember so well the story you told us about all the work you did on the orphanage in Russia, and I've often wondered what happened there.
But no, it's still there. Our children are still there.
Still there, and I'm sure they're still well looked after. And I suppose, I suppose you kind of set a bit of a footprint over there as to how to change and what and a changing for the better.
Yes, and you know, kindness. We brought out Irish kindness for 25 years with the most amazing people that I've ever met in my life. And I think it was probably, people thought maybe why would you bother with orphans? They're kind of only scabby old orphans. No. And the more they saw us treating them exactly the same as ourselves. You know, we ate the same food as them. We showered in the same showers as them. We, slept in the same dorms as them. And when people, and after years and years and years of doing that, people then kind of thought, oh God, I can't believe that these important Irish people who maybe could be wealthy actually would, which we're not. But they have the perception that everybody in the West that would be out there, and they just couldn't believe we'd waste our time with these kind of children that really weren't really worth it. And yes, the children are some of the most magnificent children I've ever met in my life, you know.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It really is. Debbie, thank you so much. And we will keep in touch. And it's so
lovely. It's changing at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
moment. So maybe the time to book launch in September, come back to me and I'll do something.
I will, of bloody course, don't you know? I will, Debbie. Thank you so much. Lovely having you. Take care of yourself. Bye, 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 Debbie. Now, folks, that was the amazing Debbie Deegan. She's an incredible woman, and she is sometimes I've no words for people like Debbie because you know, a lot of people out there are so kind, and we saw it during the pandemic. We saw it during this whole war in the Ukraine, and everybody's coming together, and we see it all the time, and this Irishness that we have, and this amazing sense of wanting to help others and give to others is something that we have in Ireland, and it's very, very special. And I know a lot of other people have it, but in Ireland in particular, I know that because I see it firsthand in my community, and people who helped me with my daughter getting her to America. We have wonderful, wonderful people around us who are always willing to give to a charity or to a cause. And I, in particular, I'm so, so grateful of it, and I will always be grateful. But I think that was a lovely idea, what Debbie said. Find out where the family and the Ukrainian families are living, and go and hand them flowers or an envelope with a few bob in it, or take their kids on a walk or bring them on a drive, and little stuff like that. I think is very important. It'll be, and I'm sure they'll appreciate that an awful lot. And again, be careful of who you're giving to, because look, there's an awful lot of dodges out there collecting money for certain, not only just for the Ukraine, but there's so many scams going on. And like everybody falls victim to it, and we're fantastic for putting our hand in our pocket. Even the grannies on the streets, like we spoke about, will always give a few bob. So a couple of little things that I took from that is definitely one thing that we should all, go and find them in our community and just be that extra bit nicer, because these poor people and those poor children as well, you really feel sorry for them. Lovely story that was about that lady Violetta. Is absolutely amazing. Fair play to Debbie for doing all that, So I'm going to leave it there, folks. You've already had an hour of me. So so tomorrow night I am going to do another podcast, and this will be about a demo that's going to be held outside a Dáil on the 6th of May. I would love if everybody who will be listening, obviously, we get more of a background as to what's going to happen, and it's something that we all need to get out there and fight for, basically. So that's me done for tonight, and I will see you all again soon. And thanks for listening. I'll put up all them links on the pages. And good night and God bless. Enjoy the nice weather. Get out and do some gardening. Plant a few plants, plant a few flowers. Like I said in my last episode, I am gone flower mad. Some of them did die in the frost, by the way, but they're actually grand. They're coming back, I think. Anyway, good night and God bless. I'll chat to you all soon. Take care now.